Would you be willing to give up the nuclear program in exchange for peace?
The Iranians didn't need a nuclear weapon because they are under the protection of the United States. The Netanyahu government wanted to keep Iran in distress. The issue within the negotiation is the Israelis not bombing Iran. The Israelis will never sleep until they smash the Iranians. The Iranians are an ally of the United States, which is why they cannot be an ally of China and Russia.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to i3 Pulse. So today we're going to be doing something different. We're going to be dissecting the explosive interview between Tucker Carlson and the president of Iran. So we're going to unpack some claims that Netanyahu fabricated the nuclear threat in 1984, that there is a religious fatwa preventing Iran from building nuclear weapons, and that Israel sabotaged many peace talks while the U.S. was sponsoring terrorism. So Sheikh, what we're going to do is we're going to jump straight to the first question on this podcast, and I want to get your reaction to this.
Would you be willing to give up the nuclear program in exchange for peace?
I would like to tell you what has happened, and it was Netanyahu since 1984 has created this false mentality that Iran seeks a nuclear bomb, and it has insinuated that Iran is trying to develop a nuclear bomb in the past, and it has put it in the minds of every U.S. president since then, and to make them believe that we would like to have a nuclear bomb. But the truth is that we have never been after developing a nuclear bomb, not in the past, not presently, or in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sheikh, what do you think about that? Like, was it really Netanyahu, and, is he being truthful, the president of Iran?
100%. I mean, 100%. We said already, basically, we've already said last time, the time before, and the time before that Iran is not trying to build a nuclear program. Why? What's the evidence? The evidence they didn't. I mean, since 1984, he's saying Netanyahu and other Israeli influencers within the American theater trying to persuade the American president and their administration of whatever time it is that Iran is trying to pursue it. But we haven't seen anything. In 41 years, you could do a lot of stuff. And we've also said that basically the Americans, the question was phrased that the American president have threatened Iran that if they continue to pursue a nuclear program, that there will not be peace. I mean, there's peace already. Right now, there's peace. You see what I'm saying? This is what people don't understand. There's already peace. Trump came in, made few basically, threw few bombs that didn't really alter the nuclear program of Iran, stopped the war, forced Israel to stop the war, and that's what happened. When we say that there is a relationship between the United States and Iran that is covered behind the scene, these are some of the proofs. If Iran was really an enemy for the United States, the first thing they would do is what North Korea have done, which is acquire nuclear weapons, and they've been at 60% enrichment for long years. You know what I'm saying? They're saying it takes 2 weeks to do it. This is absurd. People need to understand that there's a sync-up between the Iranian regional strategy, right? Because they're not a global power; they're just a regional power, and the Americans, because the Americans are the world global power, and they are the global power within the Middle East, at least within that region. The reason the Iranians didn't need a nuclear weapon because they are under the protection of the United States from a perspective. They serve their interest. And look, sometimes there is some conflict. People basically say, how come they killed Soleimani? Why? Because there's a conflict of interest.
Yeah, and they'll say even how come there's sanctions and the Iranians are pressured and all that stuff.
Yeah, so look, it's not like, because it's not black and white. It's not like a love affair between two individuals. This is politics. In politics, there's intersection of interest, and there is competition. But they're not necessarily equal. The cooperation between Iran and the United States is the rule, and the contention and the challenge is an exception. You see what I'm saying? That's number one. Number two, people take things in vacuum. When we say basically there's an Iranian-United States relationship, they forget that there is the European Union, for example, there is the UK, there's Russia, And these are global powers that have also basically some projection of interest and power within the region. And for example, the sanctions were always led by the Europeans to a certain extent, and the United States usually would take the leading role in such a negotiation or in such a sanctions setting policy to prevent, the Europeans from crushing the Iranians, for example. As you can see, the Iranians right now are selling most of their oils to China. Who's allowing that? Even Trump said, "Go, let them sell them." He said they need the money to rebuild Iran. Let them sell the oil to China. This is what Trump said. Like, if all that doesn't show people that there is full cooperation and protection by the American, or at least an active protection of the Iranian regime by the Americans within this war and before and after, I don't know. I don't know what else people need. They need confessions, for example. Like, who's going to confess basically a hidden policy? You understand?
So, Sheikh, now what he does is the president continues and talks about why they're not pursuing the nuclear weapon, and then talks about something else. So I want to get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
This is in contrast to the religious decree or the fatwa, which has been issued by His Eminence, the Supreme Leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, that so it is religiously forbidden for us to go after a nuclear bomb. And this was always corroborated thanks to our cooperation with IAEA, because they were always there that to verify this and to substantiate that we have never wanted a nuclear bomb.
So, Sheikh, on this point, right, he mentions, so what is this fatwa he's referring to?
This is absurd.
Yeah.
This is literally absurd. Like, they can create a fatwa today to allow it. Like, they're hiding behind a fatwa because the policy of the regime is not to pursue a nuclear weapon because of a prior understanding with the United States. They today the Supreme Leader of Iran today can issue another fatwa, make it permissible, actually make it a national obligation to pursue nuclear weapons. This is gibberish. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is for public consumption for the of the people of Iran. Okay, this is for public consumption. These fatwas can be reversed within a second. So them posting it and making it as if it is the religious edict of the country is just to support to give an explanation, an excuse of why they're not pursuing it. You understand? So, and this proves that basically this is actually the Iranian position. When they covered themselves willingly, when they can reverse it any minute. So it's a choice to keep this as the main public position, okay, of the Iranian government, that the fatwa, the religious edict, is impermissible to pursue nuclear. This shows you that actually what we're saying is totally true. They're not trying to pursue it. They have this religious fatwa, and it's been 4 decades that they didn't do so. And that tells you basically that this is really the position. And by the way, this is only for public consumption, because like every nation wants to become a superpower. Every nation wants to protect this homeland. And definitely nuclear weapons would be a huge factor in protecting any country in the world today.
So why the break from the IAEA now? Because he's saying we've been cooperating.
When did this happen? When did the break happen?
The break happened just after the whole the war itself.
After the war, exactly. So the Americans told the Iranians to break off the IAEA to put more pressure on Israel. The Israelis went and basically unilaterally, as we said, this is our analysis. In hindsight, it's our analysis that the Israelis went unilaterally to beat up Iran. The Americans want to tell the Israelis, look, you go without our permission, you go against our will, you're gonna lose. So now the Iranians are gonna. Iran is more. Israel is less protected today, in comparison to before the war. This is the American administration policy towards Israel. You're gonna disobey our orders. Well, we're gonna make things basically worse for you. I mean, like, analyze what happened. So The Israelis went and beat up Iran. The Americans didn't do anything for 12 days. And then the Americans came in.
And those 12 days, Iran was just hitting Tel Aviv.
The Iran were hitting both. They're both hitting each other.
Yeah.
We have to be objective. The Israelis hurt Iran a lot, yes. The Iranians hurt Israel in a limited fashion. Okay? Because again, there's a red line of not to cause this regime to implode in Israel, right? So as you can see, this is what we've said multiple times. See, when your political analysis continues to be consistent over the decades, not the years, this is when you understand it basically has a very strong weight. So the Iranians beat up the Israelis beat up the Iranians, and Trump says, let them beat each other. If this is what the Israelis want, came in, made few bombs that really didn't do much, and stopped the war. The Netanyahu government wanted to keep the war. The Netanyahu government wanted to keep Iran in distress. You understand? You wanted to continue to make Iran another Gaza. And this is what they said they wanted to do. So the one who intervened is Mr. Trump and stopped the war. And then the Iranians pulled out of the IAEA without any repercussions. You understand? And Trump says, yeah, let them go sell oil to China. So if all this doesn't show you there's full cooperation between the Americans and the Iranians, I have no idea what would make it as such.
Do you have plans to re-enter negotiations with the United States, with Envoy Steve Witkoff or anyone else? And if not, what do you think will happen?
There is a condition. There is a provision for the restarting the talks. How are we going to trust the United States again? We re-enter the negotiations, then how can we know for sure that in the middle of the talks, the Israeli regime will not be given the permission again to attack us?
So this is a question that many people keep asking, right? How can Iran, trust the U.S., even if the U.S. is there's a cooperation, but Israel's kind of gets out of line sometimes. So was this for public consumption, or did the Iranian regime lose faith in the United States and is starting to make moves? Like what does this whole scenario mean about?
Look, let me tell you something. When the Iranians basically lose trust in the American regime to protect them and to protect their general interests within the region, they'll move with another global power. Nobody stays alone, really. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're either a global power or you're not. If you're not, you got to basically side with somebody. Otherwise, you get trampled by everybody. This is how it works. You know what I'm saying? So the Iranians never moved toward the Russians and the Chinese, and that's why until now we say that they are still revolving around the United States as a world power. So in terms of the negotiations, as you saw, the issue within the negotiations is the Israelis not bombing Iran. So that's the biggest issue. And they have no problem with negotiations. Based in 2019, the one who pulled out of the negotiated agreement between Iran and the world is the United States. So, it's the Iranians are always ready for negotiations anytime, any day. Their problem right now is basically how do we stop the Israelis from, because I remember I told you, I forecasted that the Israelis within a year or two will bomb Iran again. And actually one of the Israeli officials said that within 3 years, we need to prepare for another war with the Iranians, maximum within 3 years. So they know it's coming, and they don't know how to protect themselves right now.
Jazakallah khairan. So there's a couple, this is actually the second last clip I want to get your thoughts on here. Now, this is a really good question from Tucker Carlson.
It wasn't that long ago, it was during the revolutionary period in Iran, that Iran had relations with Israel and commercial relations with Israel and reputedly bought weapons from Israel. What happened? How did that change? Who changed it and why, that relationship?
As far as I know, we have never received any kind of weapon from Israel. And I would like to tell you, even at that time, we did not want to have weapons. We did not want to have wars. We did not want to fight the Iraqis. It was the war that was imposed on us. And just like the way that this war was imposed honored by the Israeli regime. We did not attack Israel. They attacked us.
Have Iran, Israel truly never had any arrangement when it came to weapons in the past, when it came to the Iraq war? Seems to be distancing himself here.
Yeah, that's a lie. Is Carlson actually putting this as exposing the Iranian regime? This is. I think this is a big one. I mean, you need to understand the Iranian regime. The biggest after the Khomeini, after Khomeini's revolution in 1979. Who was the greatest threat for Israel? Iran, which is just established a little new
It was Iraq
regime, or Iraq.
Yeah.
So who supported Iran with weapons against the Saddam Hussein? It seems to basically Carlson seems to have information, right, that the Israelis helped the Iranians for a long time. And as I said, basically, I'm not surprised. Why would I be surprised? The Iranian regime, sadly, has been propped up by the Americans, and they would, on behalf from a perspective of benefit and national interest and so forth, they'll cooperate with Israel any time in the day. It's just the Israelis right now, as we said earlier, they want full domination over the region, and that's why they're going to knock out every single regime one at a time. The Israelis will never sleep until they smash the Iranians and the Egyptians. This is. I can assure you of that. And then after that, they can take care of Turkey after. But those two.
So now on Iran being smashed and hit, right? So Tucker Carlson asked the question. I'm going to play his question. I'll just read the answer.
If we wind up in a broader war, could you expect assistance from Russia and China, military and economic assistance from your allies, Russia and China?
And then he just basically answers, we are self-reliant. We can defend ourselves. Again, we do not want war. So Tucker Carlson asked about Russia and China, and then the president left out China and Russia explicitly from the answer. So is there like a fracture between Iran and
There's no
China and
fracture.
Russia?
There's no fracture. There's no alliance. We've been saying for the longest period of times, the Iranians are an ally of the United States, which is why they cannot be an ally of China and Russia, which is why the Russians and the Chinese never supported Iran with, for example, the needed air defense systems against Israelis. Like if they were allies, they could have easily given. The Iranians have been begging for the S-400 for a long time.
Yes.
So the Russians gave them the S-300. The S-300 is like useless, really, to be honest. Just like maybe they made some money out of the Iranians, right? But it's useless. Like S-400 barely makes it. But if they were real allies and they want to, if the Russians would love to have Iran as a full ally, they'll give it the most sophisticated weapons. They'll give them the S-500 that would actually really jeopardize the Israelis and all the other regimes. But then they will have a foothold in the region. As you can see, the Russians lost their little foothold in Syria. They're just like, they had to pack their bags and go. So the Russians and the Chinese would love to have Iran as an ally, but the Iranians would never do so because they're still allied with the Americans. And that's why the president, on purpose, dropped even basically speaking about them. And what is this whole always self-reliance? It's like, this is a hoax. This is a bluff.
Is there something that the president knows that we don't know? Maybe he's hiding something, that there's a reason why he feels he has the strength.
No, it's just his, he's relying on the Americans to protect him, and that's it. Like it's a scam. Again, this is public consumptions. He totally dodged the question because he knows that the Chinese and the Russians are not his allies. Period. And by the way, it doesn't mean that there's no relationship at all. There is. So the Iranians sold, for example, some drones to the Russians, and small little games. There's no problem. Making some money here, making some money there. People care about every single thing that you do in politics for your own national interest. So that's really it.
I mean, clearly we saw that they didn't get anything substantial from Russia and China by how easily Israel just went in and just knocked out different locations and stuff like that. Anyways.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So I guess the final thing here, Sheikh, after hearing these questions and answers and Tucker Carlson, I guess something that comes to my mind is, why is Tucker Carlson, who his family is affiliated with the CIA, he always says that the guy who overthrew the previous Iranian leader back in the past lived down the street from him, and his family is known to be CIA. Why is he doing this, and why now?
Look, there's a schism between the deep state and the United States. Okay? There's the Trumpians and there's the old guard. And it seems Carlson is not with Trump really. And
what makes you say that? Because it seems like he's close, and they've been talking. I know he criticized him back and forth a few times, but what did you see from this interview?
Because he's actually he's trying to expose Iran. And even when he went to Putin, again, all this was part of basically a deep state mission of his, right? So again, at the end of the day, and we'll see basically who's on the side of who within the United States, but at the end of the day, this was a mission. Tucker Carlson, he has always an agenda, and that agenda is set by higher ups within the American elites. And it seems he wanted to expose the Iranians. So it seems one wing within the deep state does not want Iran to continue, and this could be the purpose of this interview.
Well, Sheikh, Jazakumullah khairan for analyzing this interview, answered a lot of questions. I think it also highlighted a lot of validation for what that's been spoken about, and analysis for going on for a while. And for everybody else, guys, this is the space. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is a place where we're going to talk about what's going on, current events, and also analyze them very cleanly and give you the insights that everybody is needing at this time of confusion. So, Sheikh, Jazakumullah khairan. We'll see you on the next episode of I3 Pulse. Assalamu alaikum.